Greetings, greetings. Hello, everyone. Happy Manifestation Monday. Happy Black History Month. The kickoff, the 28 days where we get to shine, right? Not that we ain't shining 365 days. Anyway, so I'm just going to give it a few. Thank you for joining. I can't see who you are for whatever reason. But thank you for joining. Those of you who are on here with me right now, maybe shoot up a heart, a wave or something, say hello so I'll know that you're on here. The algorithms are different and Facebook is just a little bit different place to navigate these days. Plus, a lot of the censorship and all of that. Hello, Lynette. Hi, thank you for joining and thank you for the love. Hi, Tammy Smith. Thank you for joining. All right. How are you today? I'm actually wrapping up my vacation weekend, my long weekend. My husband and I celebrated our birthdays. We're actually soulmates, twin flames, in love of each other's lives and best friends and all that good stuff. And now we're getting ready to roll into 24 years of marriage on Valentine's Day. So we've been off the entire weekend. Wasn't able to do the 60th birthday bash, the surprise that I had in store for him. We can thank, Dorona for that, but that's okay. Our children just flooded us with so much love and so much gratitude and appreciation and gifts and food and money and phone calls and texts. We're blessed. So I wanted to do something a little bit different for Black History Month. This time, as I'm getting older, it's like I was born in 1964. So, just the same people that are honored, over and over again, and the same things that are being posted and said over and over again. And that's all great. But hi, how are you, Tara? Thank you for joining. As we have moved into a paradigm shift, a shift of consciousness, the dawning of the age of Aquarius, if you will, it's just time for something new, something fresh, something positive. And my goal is to really work on healing ancestral trauma and not so much focusing on the narrative of being, descendants of slaves. We are, and that goes without saying. But what we have not really looked at is the fact that a lot of that trauma is still resonates with us. It doesn't matter how educated, how successful, how integrated, how acclimated, how embedded we are in, the systems of this country. We are. There's still that gloom and doom hanging over with the social unrest, the social injustice, and just the political climate and everything that goes on, right? We're constantly having to hear about white supremacy and racism and the black vote and just all this stuff, like it's an issue. And then to have to be given a whole 28 days, to acknowledge us as a human being, right? I don't know. I just kind of want to do something different. So I probably won't be posting every single day about Black History Month. I wanted to take the time out to share what has been some of my ancestral trauma and what I have dealt with as being Black in America and what I did about it. So one of the things that was heartburn for me, fighting words and coming up, of course, was the N word back in the day. Somebody call you that, it was like knocking the stick off your shoulder. Like, it's time to roll up your sleeves and we about to, no. The N word would send you into freaking orbit coming from someone who is non-melanated, okay? Those are fighting words, if not killing words. I got over that. what it ended up being was what really drove me. I ain't even gonna say insane. It hurt me. Was go back to Africa. Take your ass back to Africa. That is what really, I got tears in my eyes now talking about it. That used to really hurt me, because where in Africa would you like me to go? Right? We didn't even know where we came from. And we were literally the only people in these United States that were depraved and deprived of a nationality. We got to pick a color. When we go fill out applications, we're picking a color. Black, non-Hispanic, or whatever. And we've been called everything but a child of God over the years. It's been this big dilemma over what do we call them. We've been called colored. We've been called Negro. We've been called Black. We've been called African Americans. We've been called coons. We've been called jigaboos. We've been called all kind of stuff. But nothing that ties to a freaking nationality. That is what was hurting my soul. And honestly and truly, if you just pause for a minute and think about these United States being the quote unquote melting pot, and how everyone who immigrated to these United States, migrated, whatever the case may be, they at least knew where they came from. The Italians knew that they came from Italy. And even within Italian communities, they knew who was like Italian and who was Sicilian. And you better get that right. Cubans knew they came from Cuba. Mexicans knew that they were from Mexico. And you better not mix them up with Puerto Ricans, the Puertorriqueños, right? Chinese knew that they came from China. Japanese knew they came from Japan, Koreans, and all that. And you better not mistake them for one another. But they all had their nationality. Okay? So as a Black person, a person of color, a melanated person coming up in these United States, that is just something that has always been deeply embedded as an ancestral trauma. Okay? That I realize I've been identified as a color, Black. But it is what it is. That's just the way it was. And I think over time, we as a people, we just began to own that, right? We just owned it. And then we decided to make it a thing. Our Black is beautiful. Black power. Black girl magic. And then when we did that, we were considered racist. We were considered supremacist, or we were considered as if we're doing something wrong because we're trying to find ourselves and identify ourselves in a melting pot of cultures that had a specific identity and they knew who they were. We didn't connect to anything. So we began to create a culture. It was hip hop. It was jazz. It was the blues, right? It was barbecue. It was, it was dancing. And, we just began, it was our slang, our language, we just began to create a culture. And it was a Black thing. They wouldn't understand, right? So for a long time, it was no problem. And we began to get our education, and affirmative action came into play. I remember my dad he worked for the Department of Labor, and he worked for EEOC, the Employment Opportunity, Equal Opportunity Department. Like, he was making sure that there was equal opportunity for everyone. And I remember when affirmative action came up and how it was just such a big deal, because people were literally, you had a lot of different things going on. You had people being put in positions just because they were black. They weren't even qualified. If any of you watch Lovecraft Country, you remember how the girl got the job at the retail store just because she was black. She was not qualified. And then you had this beautiful person who was actually qualified, but she was so scared to even apply because she just didn't even think that they would take a second look at her. So it's just this whole dynamic of just doing the freaking right thing, right? So eventually we didn't have to do affirmative action anymore because it was really about realizing we need to hire qualified people, not hire people just because they're black. But guess what? Black people can be qualified, right? They're people. So let's just let's just look at the application and hire people based on their merit. But I just remember when my dad was going through all of that. So Tammy says, people have always asked me about my nationality, or I've been asked if I was Ethiopian. My answer, of course, has always been, I'm black. Yeah. And so, yeah, we just didn't know. Go back to Africa. Now, some people have been able to maintain some of their records, especially people from the deep South. There were birth records, death records, manifest records from actual like slave ships, and people were able to keep track of that. Because, I mean, if you think about it, my grandma was born in 1901, I think it was. And so, or 1910. I'm starting to forget these things. But anyway, it was a long time ago. And not that far, right? Removed from those days. So, because, I mean, if you think about it, I came up in 1964 at the onset of the civil rights movement. Okay. So we ain't that far removed generationally from all that drama, really. So the trauma is still there. Now, I say all that to say, okay, so if you're joining me now, thank you for joining. And you don't know what I'm talking about, just later you can go back and watch it and put hashtag replay in the comments and let me know that you did come in and join. So basically, I was talking about doing something different for Black History Month and not so much focusing on just talking about the same inventors and doctors and the faces and the names that we've all come to know, and just kind of do things a little bit different and start trying to heal some ancestral trauma. And part of that is talking about it. So we're talking about nationality and how my burning issue was just being told, go back to Africa. And I didn't know where in Africa they would like me to go. Not to mention, if you don't know where in Africa you're supposed to go, you know, hey, like I was talking about the Koreans and the Japanese and the Chinese and the Asiatic people, there's some pride amongst the African people too. You know, whether or not you're from Ghana or Nigeria, or Liberia or wherever, Ethiopia, they have pride in where they're from. They have their own cultures and traditions and things that they do too. So you can't just send me back to Africa. I need to know where I came from. So with all that being said, this wonderful thing where you could trace back your roots by birth records, death records, manifest, family trees, and all that. My family, my dad on his side, and then on my mother's side, I have a cousin, my first cousin, and even one of our older cousins. They were already doing that stuff manually, by hand, through the family tree, doing research years ago. And I'm talking probably 30 years ago, they were doing this stuff. And on my mom's side, they were telling us that we came from Sierra Leone. And it sounds so beautiful, right? And I heard them and I was like, wow, that's awesome. But you know, it's just we've been so oppressed and we've been so, I don't know, limiting beliefs and stinking thinking, right? Anything positive about us. Self-love has been an issue in our community, right? And so as beautiful as that sounds, to be connected to a beautiful country flowing with abundance and all of that, yes, they have their issues just like everyone else does, that country does. But I know how beautiful Sierra Leone is. And I was like, oh my God, that's beautiful. And I'm thinking I couldn't possibly be from there. So I just didn't give it another thought or whatever. Years later, so about 7 years ago, I began getting the unction to really, really want to know where I was from. Maybe because I'm getting older and I'm getting into my twilight years and I'm just starting to feel some kind of way, right? That I need to just know. And they say the issues of life are in the blood. So maybe my ancestors are calling to me, right? They say when Cain killed Abel, that Abel's blood cried out to the Father, from the ground. So there could be some truth in that. But about 7 years ago, as I was studying the different companies that do the DNA testing and things like that, I just didn't have a comfort level. There's so much being done right now, even with the foods that we eat, the water that we drink, the toothpaste that we use, the deodorants with all these chemicals and additives and, pesticides and stuff like that, and cloning and GMOs. And, so even with the top 3 companies, now this is just me. So I'm not discouraging anyone. This video, okay, let me say this disclaimer. These are my personal experiences. This is my personal opinion. Anyone is free to do whatever it is that they feel led to do and go down the path that they are led to go down. I'm just sharing with you my mindset, my worldview based on, my life experiences, right? And my cautions and my limiting beliefs and my fears and doubts and conflicts and suspicions that cause me to make decisions a certain way. Okay. But I fully support anyone who chooses to do otherwise, because I believe that we have choices, and those other choices are there for others for other reasons, and other things will be revealed to them based on the choices they make that will suit them for that moment in time, right? Hope you feel me. So for me, the top 3 didn't resonate with me. I didn't have a comfort level based on my research. I felt like with those top 3 companies, just the way that they're asking what they can do with your data after they have provided their results to you, they kind of wanted to keep, first of all, your material, your DNA material, and what are they going to do with it? Are they providing more? Are they doing more testing, which that could be a good thing? Or are they selling it? Are they cloning it? What are they doing with it? My information, what are they doing with that? Are they selling it? And to whom are they selling it to? My personal DNA, that's me. That's who I am at the course. Right? At the core, the very course of my being. So no, I don't want you selling that, because somebody might be looking for something I got and get a hold of that. And if I got what they're looking for, am I in danger? Am I going to get abducted? Right? I don't know. So me operating on the side of caution, did not feel comfortable with those top 3 companies. So I just put that on pause as far as DNA testing. Few years later, 7 years to be exact, 7 years to completion, that unction rose again for me to really, really know where I came from. I'm starting to lose my matriarchs and my patriarchs. I have no grandparents on either side. Lots of my aunts and uncles are gone. I have one aunt left on my mother's side and one uncle left on my father's side, if my memory is serving me correctly. Okay? I don't have my parents. All right? And guess what? I'm becoming the elder. I am the elder, the matriarch, right? My husband is a freaking patriarch now. We're those folks now. So it's time to make some decisions. So I decided to move forward with a company called African Ancestry. And I chose them based on my research. And I can honestly say there could be, if there are some things that are not revealed to me that are hidden, so be it. But based on what I saw and how deep I could dig and what I got a comfort level with, I chose African Ancestry. So this is what the kit looks like, African Ancestry. And women can only do the Maternal test, all right? And I'm not going to get into a whole lesson on what all that means. You can visit their website. It's very informative, and they answer all your questions. I just want to keep it high level in the interest of time. But the women do the Maternal test, and the Maternal test is really a good way to do it because the woman carries the mitochondrial DNA. And with that being said, it will trace your mom, your mom's mom, her mom, and all the mothers all the way back. And it can go as far back as over 20,000, if not 200,000 years. Okay. Yeah, not just 6,000 years. That's another lesson for another time. Okay. About the 6,000 years. But my results for the Maternal test will be true for me, my children, my children's children, my cousins, so my mother's siblings and her children. So everyone on my mother's side will have these results. So as I received my results, I was able to call up my first cousins, all of my aunts' children, and pass this information on to them because my results are true to them as well from a matriclan standpoint. All right. Now they will have to research as far as their patriclan on their father's side to find out what other components that they have and, other lineages that they have in their bloodline. But me unlocking that, it opened up the door, not just for myself, but for a whole host of my family. So that was pretty exciting. Also, I want to share that the Maternal results, although it passes down to me, my children, and my children's children, my son's children will not necessarily receive these results passed down to them because it is Maternal. All right. Now, when my son decides to do the test or my brother does a test for the patriclan, a guy can do a matriclan and a patriclan test because they carry the X and the Y chromosome. The results that you receive from African Ancestry, it is my understanding that they have, if not the largest database, one of the largest databases for African ancestry. They also have European, which that's pretty accessible. But since the quote is go back to Africa, right? That's what we are looking for. We're looking for our African ancestry in the first place, right? So we want to go with someone who has a robust collection of African samples. African Ancestry is owned by melanated people, scientists, doctors, clinicians, and they have taken great pains to actually visit these remote countries, visit with the tribes, and the way that they collect their samples. They also collect history and they understand culture, and people are they're linking up with these countries, and people are doing, visits and stuff like that. So I just love the way this all kind of came together. So it resonated with me. So without further ado, I will share my results. Well, you can see my shirt. All right. So the test results I got back was with 99.7% certainty, my family on my mother's side are of the Mende tribe of Sierra Leone. That's a good thing, right? And I say that because with confidence, the manual research that my family was doing through the manual records, birth records, death records, manifest, and tracing it back that way, guess what? Their labor was not in vain. Our blood shows that that is where we're from. So I just wanted to share this with you today. My family is from Sierra Leone. So when some non-melanated person flips me the bird and says, go back to fucking Africa, I just might. Okay? So I've seen where the country of Sierra Leone are granting people dual citizenship. I've seen people getting their passports to Sierra Leone. Now, mind you, this was all pre-pandemic, so I don't know what's going on now. My family and I traveled to Mexico. You're so welcome, Tammy. I hope it blesses you and anyone that watches this. If you're just now joining, you can go back and watch the replay and just put #replay. I'm talking about discovering where I came from in the interest of Black History Month and trying to keep things more positive here. So this is what the certificate looks like. I just kind of made a little print so I could share with you. You actually get a certificate of ancestry. And as you can see, it says Mende people living in Sierra Leone. So not only do they tell you the country you're from, they even tell you what tribe you're from. And the Mende people, there's one other tribe, and forgive me, I don't recall the name, but there's two tribes that are very heavy in Sierra Leone. So my people basically are the people of Sierra Leone. So I'm going to look more into this and study more about our people, their traditions, their spirituality, their diets. And, I just want to know what they believed in, how they lived. Oh, I'm going to go visit for sure. And also I'm going to talk to my brother and see if he wants to do the Patriclan test. I'm pretty sure he will. And if not, maybe my Uncle Robert will do it for our Patriclan test, or one of my cousins, one of his sons. Somebody gonna give me some saliva, okay, for the Patriclan. So also I want to share with you, it doesn't stop there. So with 99.7% certainty, our people are from, sorry about this, y'all. It's time to get it freshened up. But yes, 99.7% certainty that we are the Mende people of Sierra Leone. With that said, even the Mende people of Sierra Leone, right, they may have migrated into Sierra Leone and have their origins elsewhere. So you also get what is called variances. It's called hypervariable regions, and you get haplogroups. So I've actually been taking some time, and it's quite a bit of information. We are blessed that we only have 2 hypervariable regions, because there's several hypervariable regions. We only fell into 2 hypervariable regions, and the haplogroups, that's a whole nother thing. So what I will share with you, I'll do another video to talk about that. And I'll make it, during Black History Month as well, to keep it all relevant. But I'll share with you at this time so that when you come back to the next one, I'll have that information for you. The haplogroups start to drill down even further. And you can even find like some famous people, and I'm saying famous, just names that we know historically that may even belong to your haplogroup. And so what we are discovering as I look through our haplogroups, there are a couple of other bloodlines that we have. So we are also, our bloodline, if you've heard about mitochondrial Eve, definitely we tie to that. And then there is another haplogroup that is very rare, so I'll save that and share that for later. But we are finding ties to Morocco, Egypt, Yemen, possibly even Russia. Not sure about that. We'll see. And of course, European ties, right? So with that being said, I will conclude this video for now. But that is my Black History moment for today. I hope that you all have gained some knowledge and some inspiration, maybe to trace your roots. And if you don't feel comfortable, that's perfectly fine as far as sharing your content and your DNA with someone. Hi, Stephanie. Thank you for joining. If you don't want to go that route, I totally understand. But I will tell you, my comfort level with African Ancestry, it has, I feel okay about it. I really do. And just the great care that they take and their promise to destroy your material once your results have been provided to you. And then the support groups on Facebook and links and ties to YouTube to gain more information about your haplogroups, about your tribe, about the country that you came from, about groups that are visiting to the country that you find that you are from. And the beautiful thing is, I actually belong to a phenomenal travel club anyway. And it's not just a travel club. I'm in a lifestyle club, but I get like up to 80% discount on hotels, resorts, and car rental and, activities and things of that nature anyway. So I'm going to go right on my website and see what type of resorts and hotels and stuff they have in Sierra Leone. And I see Stephanie's on here. She's always ready for a trip. So, once we find out what travel's going to be like in our new normal, I'm definitely planning on going to see where I came from. So thank you for joining me on today. And Stephanie, you will have to go back and check out the replay, girl. I shared the results of my African ancestry that I am from the Mende tribe of Sierra Leone. I've been holding on to this since December 8th because I got my results back then. But I wanted to wait and share it at this time because I think it's a really good time to start bringing some positive and uplifting messages during the month of February. So thank you all again for joining. I hope you have a beautiful, blessed Manifestation Monday. Whatever it is that you desire, whatever it is that you desire to be, what you want to obtain, if you believe that you can have it, you can have it. If you believe that you can be it, you can be it. The key is to believe that you already are. The person who thinks they can and the person who thinks they can't, they both are right. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.